Thank you so much, Neil, and thank you everyone for the invitation. It's truly an honor to be with you all today. Hello, everyone. My name is Riad. I'm going to be giving you just a quick background about myself first. So I graduated in 2014 from the architecture engineering program at AUC. And then later on, I moved on to do my master's at the AADRL program, as Neil mentioned, which was truly a remarkable, eye-opening experience for me. Shortly after that, I moved back to Dubai, and I recently started my own practice with a business partner called Shift Space Design and Research, as well as teaching at different universities here. And last year, I joined the FIU DDes program to continue my line of research and continue working on the things that I'm truly passionate about. So just to give you again a brief introduction, I'd like to think of my work positioned at the intersection of architecture, technology, design research, art, as well as robotics. So I like to think of myself as a kind of an anti-disciplinary kind of person who likes to explore new realms that are not fixated or basically confined by a certain field or another. And I think a lot of architects nowadays kind of are moving beyond the conventional definitions of architecture and kind of exploring new ways of combining different disciplines together. First of all, I would like to introduce some of the work and research that I've done during my time at the Architecture Association, the DRL program. My research alongside my group was titled SlinkyBot. SlinkyBot basically was a behavioral design system that is an autonomous, self-assembling, and self-aware system. It aimed to provide an alternative approach for living that extends on the ideas of materiality and geometrically elastic, endless, and ever-evolving architecture. So it was really important for our team to kind of view these Slinky bots as companions in the house that offer some kind of emotive support, as well as having their own independent life cycles that are symbiotically intertwined with the human life cycle, basically creating an environment that grows and adapts with its users. So again, trying to move beyond the static definitions of architecture. As a self-assembling system, there were certain criteria that we had to keep in mind, which is basically that our system was unit-based. It was also time-based. So as time progresses, the units start basically gaining capabilities of communicating with one another. There was a sense of mobility and autonomy within the units. And the most important thing was the way they would self-organize and kind of self-assemble together. We looked at a lot of references in nature, including the intelligence found in ant colonies and swarm intelligence, to kind of learn from how complexity can be built up from systems that include units on their own, might not have the kind of complexity or intelligence on their own, but together working collaboratively can basically lead to new possibilities. So our system, the way we kind of approached it is we approached it in a polyscalar way. So we thought about it in a unit kind of based system, as well as a more taxonomy based system, as well as a kind of a reconfigurable organizational system. So it was important for us to tackle these different scales within our design system. Starting off with the unit, it was important for us to have some kind of a dual system. Or a dual unit that has some kind of a compact state as well as an extended state. Each state offered different functionalities and different benefits the compact one was seen as a more structural and a more mobile state, whereas the extendable one offered more transparency and offered different kinds of choreographical movements. So in our initial kind of prototypes, we looked at creating this compact state with a monowheel in between that has the ability to move and turn the unit itself, as well as we looked at in ways of extending this unit. We quickly realized that basically basing our unit on purely hard materials was something that is not really human friendly, especially that we thought about our system as being something that is an add-on system to an existing household. So we thought about it as a kind of interior add-on system that is in direct contact with humans. So we quickly needed to think of ways to make it softer and make it a little bit more human-centric. So we explored some soft muscles that we tried different kinds of materials to basically experiment with. These soft muscles would allow the unit to have certain choreographed movements, as well as allow it to be able to extend and return back to its compact state. After several material explorations, we reached the decision to go with the polyurethane muscle material that allowed us minimum and lightweight material, as well as a kind of material that also was able to have the flexibility and the strength to push the unit outwards and inwards. So this is kind of a diagram that represents the overall components within the unit. So this is half a unit showing the hard shell as well as the soft silicon muscles that were embedded on this hard 3D printed shell, and the extendable soft muscles that were integrated within the shell. These are some of the prototypes that we looked at and that we kind of reached by the end of our research that showed us some kind of extendability and some kind of choreographed movements. Of course, as we experimented and created several prototypes, the scale quickly started to increase in size, which is something that was a bit of a limitation that we needed to also bear in mind. It was important for us that our Slinky bot had some kind of communication with other Slinky bots so that they were able to perform some collective behaviors, such as collective mobility. It was not important for us that every Slinky bot had the kind of decision-making to decide where the unit needs to go. It was easier for us to think of it in a way as leader units and as well as following units, which basically responded to what the leaders of their clusters dictated to them. Our units, it was important also for our units to have some kind of awareness of their environment and surrounding. Since it was an add-on system to existing households, it needed to be able to scan the environment and recognize areas where it would be able to, for example, climb upon or basically extend or dangle from. These are some experimentations that we did in terms of inflating and extending the units on a more collective way rather than just a unit kind of experimentation. This collective behavior would lead us to basically the different kinds of functionalities that the system would be able to do. So beyond recognizing the human and responding to their ergonomics, we imagined different functional landscapes that could be created with these extendables as they work together in a collective way. As well as performing in kind of a responsive lighting system, the units would be able to recognize the humans passing by and respond in a way to light up the area as needed or according to the occupancy of different spaces. The way we simulated some of these organizations were based on simple coding rules. Some of these coding rules had linear relationships, others focused on a more radial one. And just utilizing these basic logical concepts, we were able to start creating different taxonomies and start giving them different functions or where they would fit best in different ways around the household. So we created taxonomies that would basically try to respond to gravity, and these were taxonomies that were more tailored to ceiling functionalities, such as lighting behavior or extendable structures from the ceiling. Other taxonomies focused more on ground-up behavior, creating the functional landscapes that I have shown earlier in the slides. So again, in our system and the way we try to simulate this using coding is the units would basically try to find the humans as certain physical boundaries and try to expand and alter the space according to the occupancy and according to the needs around the users of the space. These are some visualizations of different kind of, again, states that are time-based according to the time of the day and as well as according to the occupancies within the household. So this basically wraps up a bit of the research that I've done during my experience at the DRL. I would like to kind of move in a chronological order, and soon after my experience at the AA, I came back from London to Dubai, and shortly after that, I've started my own design startup with my business partner, Jumana, called Shift Space Design and Research. And basically in our studio, we try to integrate some of these computational design experience that we had and research and try to find applicable ways to realize them, that they are also culturally sensitive to the region that we are based in and to the backgrounds that we come from as well. So this proposal is called Plush. It was one of our design proposals that recently was awarded. Basically, this proposal was for a pavilion design that was interactive and as well as responsive to different kinds of conditions. So the design of the space itself is quite straightforward. The thing that we really try to focus on is these kinetic, the mix between static and kinetic panels, which would respond in different ways. This was also a collaboration with an institution in the UAE called BIA, which is basically a facility that sorts out recycled material. So we thought about integrating this recycled material within our design of the pavilion. And basically, we ended up experimenting with a lot of different materials. And we thought of integrating HDPE and creating different panels out of HDPE, which we found was quite durable, as well as stiff enough to handle being used as certain panels, as well as being light enough to be mobile and to easily move and be kinetic. So these are some of the experiments we did with different mixtures of transparencies as well as colors of HDPE mixed together to again showcase the different aesthetics that we could reach with recycled material. We created kind of a prototype to showcase the kinetic aspect of the pavilion and how it would open up and close. So the way we imagined it is the pavilion would have two scenarios. One scenario that is more based on human interactions or playfulness that would basically invite users to come into the pavilion and see whatever exhibitions that is hosted within it. The second kind of scenario responded more to the pandemic, and it was more of an occupancy related reaction. So as the occupancy of the space increases or as it reaches its limit, all the panels kind of open up to have better ventilation and to act as a warning sign that occupancy has been reached, so that certain protocols can be followed. So this was just a quick proposal of one of our ideas that we've been working on. I think our main aim for our studio is to integrate, again, technology, design, architecture, as well as be sensitive to different cultural and regional aspects in our design. And I think at the end of the day, that's truly what gives us our edge. So what's next? For me, after basically going through a lot of my research experience during my master's program at the AA and some of my practice experience in different corporations, as well as my own startup, and being interested personally in interactive behavioral systems, I wanted to continue my research in these kinds of systems, but move beyond the fact that humans are still seen as physical boundaries to a lot of these interactive smart systems, and trying to integrate a certain kind of emotional intelligence that would result in a more sensitive, productive, and machine-human interactions and different kinds of experiences within these responsive environments. So for my DDes at FIU, my general goal, and this is still a work in progress, of course, I would like to aim to create a relationship between materials, form, and behavioral interactive systems to generate a more empathetic relationship between humans and their environment, to explore the potential of how to simulate empathy and blur the harsh boundaries between machine-human ecologies and develop a state of harmonious coexistence and companionship. So basically, again, moving beyond humans being seen as mere physical boundaries and creating systems that truly see us as humans and have some sense of empathy and understanding of our different states. So just to break it down really simply, I aim to create some framework or a system that is behavioral and empathetic, learning from nature and biomimicry to set up this behavioral framework. Nature is always our best teacher, and this is something that we are always inspired from, as well as integrating a sense of emotional intelligence to add a layer of effective computing to these design systems. And just to basically wrap it up, so why emotional intelligence and what can we learn from human emotiveness, and why integrate effective capabilities in computational agents? I mean, some of us might think that computational agents, their main requirement is to be, of course, functional, and that is true, but it's also, the argument can be made that with them having some of these effective capabilities, they can be more functional and more rational in their decision making, and have a better understanding of us and have more human-like attention and perception to the occupants around, to the users around, and eventually learn to adjust their behavior and interaction to to have a more human-friendly and a more basically a system that understands and is able to determine salience and as well as valence. So basically, this is kind of the ultimate general goal. As I mentioned, this is still a work in progress, and I am excited to basically push this forward and see what comes out of it. So thank you so much for listening, and it's truly an honor to be with you all today.